I have read 148 books this year, and we're gonna review every single one. This is my Super Bowl. I love seeing all of the reading reviews, and this is the first time I'm doing it. So I'm so excited to go through everything I read with you. Before we get into it, my name's Emily. You can find me everywhere, M's Novellas, Goodreads, Storygraph, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Well, we still have it. But without further ado, we're gonna keep this concise and brief because 148 is a lot to get through. First up, I started the new year rereading the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. First one, Lightning Thief, chef kiss, beautiful, nostalgic, funny, a little bit dramatic, the plot twist, 10 out of 10. Next we have up Sea of Monsters, part of the Percy Jackson series, a little bit more drama, still really great. I don't know, this is my favorite one, but I do like the sea component and the animals and mythical creatures that come up, but very fun, 10 out of 10. Next one, The Titan's Curse of the Percy Jackson Olympian series. This is when the plot thickens, we get new characters. We're starting to realize what's actually going on. This one packs a lot of drama and heat. I think this was my favorite one of the series, if not closely behind Last Olympian. Battle of Labyrinth, another great book, 10 out of 10. The plot, the drama, the development of the overarching plot. This might not be one of my favorite ones. I think it's only because the other ones are just so good. And then we finished the series with The Last Olympian, chef's kiss, so good. All of the plot points of the previous 4 books all coming together. The prophecy prevails and we end on a good note. Is that a spoiler? These have been around for a while. After that, I decided to read the ACOTAR series. I was just so sick of seeing them all over my For You page and like hearing about them for the past 4 years. I'm like, what is this about? I've been ignoring it for so long. Let's start with the first one, A Court Enthroned in Roses. Getting through this felt like pulling teeth, and the last 10% was actually interesting, but the majority of it, I was not into it. Next one, A Court of Mist and Fury, much more exciting than the first one, much more fast-paced, characters a little bit more likable. But if I see the words male or mate one more time, especially throughout this book, I'm never gonna read again. After that, we followed up with A Court of Wings and Ruin. This one was fine. Things were like wrapping it up. I thought this was supposed to be a trilogy, but then there's a 4th one. I thought honestly it should end it after the 3rd one. And then the next one, A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is the little like novella, the like almost like holiday special. Honestly, I felt this was unnecessary. Another book that was a struggle to get through. And then I finished it with A Court of Silver Flames. I probably like this one tied second most with A Court of Mist and Fury, just because I do like Nesta, and I know that's a controversial opinion. People are very opinionated around her, but those are my thoughts. But it was still really freaking long. Like, these were so long for what? Next one I read, my first ever ARC that has been gifted to me. Oh my gosh, thank you. Broken Flames. This was being advertised as the like Zutara remake. Honestly, there's a lot of room for improvement with the writing style. The plot pacing was kind of all over the place. Cover was really pretty though. After that, the first book I DNF'd this year, Dreamland. Yawn, boring. I started this with a book club like 6 months prior, and I ended up leaving the job, so we never really finished. I never finished the book club with them, but I did not enjoy the book. I could not get into it. And then I read a collection of 6 short stories that, yes, do count toward your reading goal because they are on Goodreads and Storygraph, and I'm gonna count them, of just little compilations of continuations of the book. Better than the movies. They follow the main character, just kind of different like stories about them in their future. Better Than the Movies is one point of view, so some of them short stories are also point of views from the love interest's point of view. They're just super cute, super fun, also available online for free on Lynn Painter's website, which is lovely. Our next one, Pride by Allie Hazelwood. Not her best written book, but this taught me something about myself and introduced me into an entire world of fan fiction I did not know about, so for that I will be thankful. After that, I read Betting on You by Lynn Painter. It was fluffy, there was drama. Was it anything amazing? No. Better Than the Movies is still much better, in my opinion. And then I read a little short story, Better Than Before, just kind of a little crossover actually with Betting on You, the main characters, and Better Than the Movies characters there. So a fun little crossover, a little Lynn Painter multiverse moment for us. I then read Unravel Me. Honestly, I didn't care for the characters. Some of the quotes I had some issues with, and just overall it felt bland, and I thought there was some love bombing in it. Next up after that, Butcher and Blackbird. I thought this was gruesome, graphic, made me never want to eat ice cream again. But I love a little competition with love interests. So fun. Our next one I found on TikTok, it was like really blowing up, The Fake Out. It's a little hockey romance, but had a kind of special place in my heart because they talk so much about like body neutrality and food freedom, and my little dietitian inner self was pleased and was like, yes, more of this. And then after that, I read A Hue of Blue, and honestly, you guys, this is blowing up all over TikTok, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so sad. This is a toxic relationship. I don't support this. I couldn't really stand a lot of the characters. Not for me. After this, continuing off of Bride, we found The Fake Mate, and I enjoyed this probably more than I should have. And I also liked it because it had little healthcare professionals in it, and I am also a healthcare professional, so I felt seen, and it had the little werewolf kind of esque drama to it. I don't even know if werewolf's the right label to it. Maybe we should say Omega verse, but I don't want to get taken down for any of that. So you'll just have to look up the synopsis. After that, I discovered probably one of my favorite series of the year, the Renegade series. Marissa Meyer slayed. First one, Renegades. This was enticing, dramatic. I love when there are secrets between the main characters so much, and it constantly had my toes and I could not stop reading it. We go into our second book, Arch Enemies. Still, the drama is building. The secrets are piling up. The consequences for all these secrets and the different actions behind the motivations of different characters, intense and exciting and thrilling. And then our last one, probably honestly my least favorite of the trilogy, but that's just because I love betrayal and secrets so much. I think if it's really well written, I love feeling the little like, oh, no. Supernova though, I stan our girl, little girly Nova. Also, she's half Filipino, so I'm gonna be biased. After that, I've read probably one of the two worst books I've read this year. Thalia DeLuca is like a mafia-esque book that was shimmering itself around the book talk space, and it was just not great. I like wanted to not finish this, but it was such an easy read that I'm like, whatever, we're finishing it, and I'll never have that time back. After that, I probably read the worst book I've actually read this year, Mr. Fixer-Upper. I did a review about this, and it was just so misogynistic and giving like pick-me energy with the female main character, and it just exuded a couple that would not last. And I stand by that. I would bet my books on that. After that dumpster fire of a book, I discovered, I'm gonna say my favorite breakthrough author this year. I don't know if this was not her debut, I don't think, but Miss Anne Liang. I Hope This Doesn't Find You. I did a review on it. I need this book in my clasps but I want a paperback of it and I've yet to find a paperback. So what's a girl gonna do? I hope this doesn't find you. It is so emotional and cutesy and fun and a great reflection piece, and I cannot speak more highly about this book. It's probably like a top 5 favorite book for me for this entire year. And then of course, because I'm like, I love when I discover new authors that I love their writing style, I then read her next book. This time It Isn't Real, a little fake dating romance. Also another one where also both these have Asian representation. Her writing style is just so cute and fun and emotional and beautiful, and I love that. And Miss Ann Lang knows how to slay academic rivals to lovers. I hope this doesn't find you, and if you could see the sun are both academic rivals to lovers. This one is like, the twists are crazy. It starts off as a girl who literally like can start turning invisible and people start paying her to like creep on people, and where this goes and takes a sudden turn is nutty, but so good. Also, cover's beautiful. After that, I could feel myself falling into a reading slump. So what did I do? I read a book that I knew that I liked from the previous year. Spearcrest Prince is kind of giving boarding school, Gossip Girl, rich people vibes. Now that I reread it, and I don't think I like it as much as I liked it the previous year, but it has a little arranged marriage where the people don't want to be in the arranged marriage, and they eventually turn to like each other, but it's super cute. Second time around, I don't like the main character, but I typically stick with my original rating, so it is what it is. After that, I was like, oh, I'm still not getting out of this reading slump. Let me read another book that I liked the previous year, Hooked. This is kind of a fairy tale inspired as retelling with Captain Hook and what is the girl's name in Peter Pan? But it's supposed to be like the villain gets the girl, you know? But after reading this, once again, another situation where I don't like the main character, and the first time I read it, I let him off the hook. No pun intended, a little bit too easily, and now I'm like, I don't know about that. After that, I read probably my second favorite author that I've discovered this year, Miss Yulin Kwong. This is her debut, and it is beautiful and realistic about two individuals who have a traumatic past. This does a great job of illustrating forgiveness and overcoming grief and confronting generational trauma. This is probably the most real and authentic book I have read this year. 10 out of 10 I recommend. I'm also so glad I didn't get the one with the little Reese's book club on it. I don't like those stickers, please. Can we keep those off in 2025? Thank you. After that, I read the little short story Powerful. This comes after Powerless. It follows the main character in Powerless's best friend and her little romantic story. I did not care for this. I maybe would have cared if I read it more close to when I read Powerless, so I like actually remembered all the characters and the plot and what was going to happen, so that it hurt me a little bit more. It was a little bit more emotional, but it just fell flat for me. Next, we read Just for the Summer. This is a very, I would say almost like heavy but emotional love story about and it does a great job discussing relationships with family members and also how we think we receive the love that we give. We take the love we think we deserve. We receive the love we think we deserve. Whatever that means. I didn't like it, I feel, as much as the general online space did, but it was a good read. A little bit frustrating at times, but just because I am not like the main character, and that's fine. After that, I read Sharp Objects, and this was one of the first books, I think, in one of my new book clubs, paperback book clubs with some of my friends. This was like a thriller, suspense. I did not sleep well. I get scared easily. And at first, I want to say it like did a really good job of being creepy in the plot development, and You figure out who did it and everything. But then there's one action that the main character does that I think is unforgivable. If you don't want to get spoiled, or if you want to get spoiled, go read my Goodreads review about it. And I'm just very disappointed that was in the book, and I'm gonna leave it at that. After that, I should have prefaced with this, but my opinions are my own. It's okay if we have different opinions. That being said, I DNF'd Throne of Glass. I could not stand the main character. She's supposed to be this like elite assassin, but did not really have a lot of like was easily snuck up on, was like a little bit like easily influenced emotionally, that you'd think like an elite assassin would not have that affect her. Also the exclamation points. I'm so nitpicky, and that's just me, but we need to chill out with the exclamation points. After that, where is this book? After that, I read Cute. I need to read more queer romances. Please put some recommendations below. Like, let me know what are good queer romances, because I'm trying to get more into those. Cute has like two of my favorite things. One, the US Women's National Team for soccer, and romance. And you can see where it goes from there. It's so cute, it's so fun, and it's just like a fun little sports romance. I also love soccer and the women's national team, so I was a happy girl. After that, one of my biggest, most anticipated reads of the year, Funny Story by Miss Emily Henry. Her writing style just will never not hit. She can literally write anything. Like, controversial opinion, Happy Place was my least favorite, but I still gave it 5 stars just because she's so good at writing. She's so good at finding a way to make the characters relatable and bringing out the emotion of you. And also I love that she typically doesn't just focus on the romance. There's typically another message she is spreading. And I love the little spine with the oranges. It's so cute. Wow, I'm so excited for her next book. After that, we fell flat with King of Sloth. Also, I did a review on Funny Story, by the way. I also reviewed King of Sloth. This was a letdown. Like I said, if you want to get spoiled, I have a full review on it. But I have one of the main characters I could not stand. It was very much giving like rich boy who doesn't want to work and feels bad about himself. And the female main character did not feel like who she was in other books, so unfortunately a miss. I have stopped purchasing Anna Huang books since. Ugh. After that, my opinions are my own. I DNF'd All Roads Lead Here. You gotta give me something with a slow burn. I typically like a slow burn, but I was getting through it and just could not find anything likable about any of the characters for me. So I was like, and that's that. After reading some of the reviews, I spoiled myself. I don't really regret not finishing it. I finally then finished the intuitive eating book. Wait, why did I grab this? Oh my gosh. I have been reading this for what feels like 3 years, and it actually might be 3 years. Just as an anti-diet dietitian, I felt like I should have this under my belt, so I finally finished it. It's not the most exciting read. I already know most of this, so it was hard to get through, but I finally did. After that, I read the very much anticipated What Did You Do? This follows that like TikTok hit last year. Was it How Did You Know or something? It was like the mythical big plot twist story. And this sequel felt like a completely different book. I wanted to DNF it. I pushed through because I was just so stubborn. I'm like, what's gonna happen? The characters felt different. It was like more raunchy and not a fun way. And I don't know if I'm gonna read the next book. I probably am, but I probably won't have a fun time. After that, another book club book, Forget Me Not. This is a cute little romance about a wedding planner and a florist with history, and now they have to work together on a wedding, and it's so cute. I like thought there was a little bit too much of insta love, or the romance didn't feel the most authentic to me, but it was still a cute little fun read, and I love when people are forced to work with each other. After that, I read Fangirl Down. I read this solely because of the advertisement around Bad Boy Golfer, which makes me cackle because that's not a thing. And after reading this, I still stand by that's not a thing. This guy's just an a-hole. I didn't love it. A fun little read, kind of was giving You energy, like the show You, but to each their own. I'm also a golf hater, so it is what it is. All right, after that, I read 13 volumes of Spy Family. I only have 4 right here, but I will attain them all as soon as I can. I read this because I finished the anime and I'm like, I need more of the Forager family. And I do not regret this. The manga's so good, and I need these chapters to be coming out more quickly. I think we're in volume 14 right now, maybe, but like, hello? We're here waiting. This is just such a fun, like, action-filled romance, dramatic, political series that has like all these different things that you love, and I cannot speak more highly about it. After that, I cried. When Breath Becomes Air. This is written about a neurosurgeon who finds out he has terminal lung cancer. You can expect how that's gonna go. I thought I wasn't gonna cry, but the ending got me. But a good reflection on life, and I enjoyed the medical components of this a lot, just because I like to nerd out a little bit. After that, I really was like, okay, you know what? We're not gonna cry anymore. Kind of Red Queen inspired, Alice in Wonderland inspired book. This left me shook. Was rooting for all of our girlies' rights and wrongs, and the ending of this really just, I'll leave it at that. After that, I read Remarkably Bright Creatures. Such a cute little book about this woman who befriends an octopus in an aquarium, and the octopus helps her find her lost son. It's so precious, and you know there's impending doom in a way, and it just really makes you thankful for what you have. And also, I love animals. They're so cute. After that, Not in Love. I did another review about this as well. Make sure you're subscribed so you can see all my reviews. This is probably my favorite Holly Hazelwood book that I've ever read, and I specifically couldn't tell you why. I feel like it's because she just did a little bit of a deeper dive into why the characters think the way they do and act the way they do. Definitely one of her more spicier books. I adored them. I don't know what it is, but I love them. And they have my heart. After that, I read Leather and Lark, and this was a sequel to Butcher and Blackbird. Leather and Lark was not it for me. It did not have the energy I was kind of anticipating based off of the characters that we met in the first book. I don't know. It just wasn't great. I'm still probably gonna read the third one because I think I like that brother better. This might have just been my least favorite brother as well, but it wasn't as good as the first one, and that's fine. After that, I read Love Unwritten, another one of our lakefront billionaire stories. This follow-up to Love Rewritten. This is about a nanny and a single dad, and they have some like past history. And I'm just not into like the single dad romances. So I'm going in already biased, and it just wasn't great for me, and that's fine. But if you're into that, you might like this. After that, I was traumatized with our next book club book, Tender is the Flesh. This is gory. I think my friend, when she introduced the book to us, described it as body horror. This is if animals became diseased and we could no longer eat or consume or be around animals. and then they start harvesting humans instead. A good commentary on how we treat animals now. I don't know if I'd say I reduced my animal intake because of it, but I think I've always liked animals and known how terribly we've treated them. So, but it was gruesome and grotesque for sure. Don't eat while reading this. After that, I reread Powerless in anticipation of Reckless because I'm like, what went on? Once again, second time reading this, I don't know, maybe I just should stop. First time I'm reading books, I'm like going in bushy tail, wide-eyed. I'm like, yes! But then I go back and I'm like a little bit more critical, I guess. Or I'm just expecting that same emotion and it's not there. And that's fine, but it was not as good when I reread it. Also, Reckless. I did a review on Reckless, and I think Reckless did not live up to the hype at all. I feel like it was way too romance focused and not plot focused, and the first book did a better job of balancing the two. And I'm still gonna read the third one. Yeah. After that, 7 Years Slip, our cutesy little magical, mystical romance. This book did a great job of reflecting on how people change over time, how we have to accept that people change and like accept them for who they are. It's so cute. I also love nicknames that involve food, especially fruits. I just love fruit. But this was so cute, and I think I cried. I might have been a little bit more hormonal, so I was a little bit more susceptible to it that month when I had read it, but so cute and fun. A good little like fallish read, I feel. After that, I wanted some little no-brainer, let's not think about anything stories. So I read On the Fence and My Life Next Door. Both are like high school-esque romances. On the Fence, I was a skeptic for like the first 50%, but then we started picking up and I was like one of the characters, I was like, what's going on here? But then we found out a little bit more backstory. I'm like, okay, fine. And it was cute, took a very dark turn, but a fun little book. Probably I did have to think a little bit more than I would have liked to during that one at least. And then our next one was also not a very cutesy, no thoughts required high school romance. Huge plot twist, turned very dark, and I'm like, what is happening here? But it was still fun. After that, I read Play Along. Miss Liz Tomford coming through with her Chicago sports romances. Yes, I feel seen. I'm a Chicago enthusiast and also local, so also this cover's beautiful. Look at the little Sears Tower. No, it's not the Willis Tower. I didn't expect to like this book as much as I did because it's about a baseball player and I just don't care about baseball. When I go to baseball games, it's literally for a hot dog and a lemonade and that's it. And maybe to like sit in the sun a little bit. A quite expensive trip for some sun and hot dog exposure, but I go for the vibes. But this was cutesy and fun and a little bit more of a deeper romance, kind of looking into accepting the love we think we deserve, respecting boundaries. Very cute, very fun, very cutesy, very demure. After that, the drama started coming up again about how Powerless is very similar to Dance of Thieves, and I haven't read Dance of Thieves, so I decided to read it. And I read Dance of Thieves and I'm like, oh, it is very similar. And right now, current day, there's some drama about it with like Red Queen and Hunger Games, and I think even Shatter Me's getting pulled in there, so I'm like, I don't know. But Dance of Thieves was great. I loved it. Another one, like, I love when there are secrets on both sides and they have alternate, like, intentions and ambitions. And I love the drama. It's a little fantasy, and we love our little girl boss. Super fun. Then I read Ballad of Thieves. I didn't like it quite as much, but it was still great and fun and dramatic and kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen? I also appreciate that this was a duology. Well done with timing that out because I don't think we would have needed a third book. After that, I read probably, I would say this is so tough. This is in the top 3 books I've read this year, but they're all tied for first. First 2 already are Hope This Doesn't Find You and How to End a Love Story. This is the third one that is tied. The X-Files. This started blowing up on Book Talk. And I don't own it, but I want a copy of it. But every copy I've found, like, I'm so nitpicky about like the spine and pages and how it looks. And that's just me. It's such a cutesy little like second chance romance. And also there's the aspect of like our friends and how we interpret our worth related to our friendships. And also the romance is just so, it's not a generic second chance romance, close proximity, they get back together, whatever. They actually talk about their issues. They delve into why they are the way they are. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so cute and good. Literally, as soon as I read this, I made my entire book club read. I'm like, yeah, you're all gonna read it. After that, when I discovered Jessica Joyce, I'm like, let me read other books you've read. You with a View is actually specifically marketed toward me. I don't know if you knew that, but it's about national parks, it's about photography, there's romance in it, there's the importance of family. It's so cute. Also, there's hiking. I love this book so much. I don't think it's as good as X-Files, but I adore this book. After that, I read Jessica Joyce has a little short story called A Risk Worth Taking. It's cute, it's fun, a little romance. I think there may be a little bit, I think with what happened and the amount of time that goes, that whatever, I don't know, what's the word, passes. It's maybe not the most realistic, but it was a fun little read. After that, I decided to get into the Dark Verse series by Rear Nix because I heard the last book was coming out in like 2 months and I'm like, I'm gonna read them all. So I read The Predator, which is the first book. It was pretty good, not my favorite, fast paced, a little bit of a mafia story, romance. There's a lot of drama. Still fun. After that then, I like snuck in a little romance, Not Another Love Story. Also written by Julie Soto, who did Forget Me Not, the like wedding planner and florist romance. This one was, I was intrigued because I did band in high school, so I was like, I have that little musical nerd self in the back of my head. And this is about a little, some like dorks orchestra, but like adults. It was fine. I don't think it was anything amazing. I liked Forget Me Not better, but it was a fun little romance, also very spicy. And then I got back into my mafia reading. So The Reaper was the next book in the Dark Verse series. I like this one better, I think, than the first one because the plot's starting to come together a little bit more. New characters getting pulled in. Third one was my favorite, The Emperor. This is my favorite couple. They're just so fiercely in love with each other and loyal. And I liked both the characters a lot. Fourth one, The Finisher. It was fine. I didn't really feel attached to either characters. The plot was like, I don't know. And then the fifth one was my least favorite. Well, we'll get there. Fifth one, I could not stand one of the characters. Very much giving Stockholm Syndrome. So I was like, oh, do I want to even finish this series? But I'm like, you know what? I read 5 books in 1 week. I'm going to read the 6th one when it comes out. One of my next book club books, we read The Duke and I. I actually have never seen any of the Bridgertons TV show. I just know all the spoilers and they wanted to read the first book. I didn't care for it. I don't know if I just like don't like the older historical romances or historical fiction books because of like the expectations around women and how they're treated. Even if there is like a girl boss, like feminist little girly, I'm still like, I don't enjoy that very much. And then after that, I was like, I do this every year where I reread The Darkest Minds because this is probably like one of my favorite series of all time. Highly recommend. I love these characters so much. The plot is crazy and I read a lot of young adult, but young adult has good themes. I can't help it. First one, crazy plot twist, crazy development. Into the second one, second books of a series or a trilogy can sometimes be the worst one. Second one, just as exciting. The development is growing. We're like, oh, there are some things the main character did in the previous book that we're like waiting for those consequences to have actions. And then the third one wraps it up. Oh my gosh. The third one wraps it up so beautifully. Every time I read this, every year, I like forget how this ends and the specifics of it. And it's just because I'm like, wow. And I love this series. I think about it so often, but it's so good. Oh my gosh, read it. Don't watch the movie. I heard it's not good. After that, I read Expiration Dates, was a recommendation from someone. It was okay. It's about a girl who like gets notes about when her relationship is going to expire with this individual. And I'm just not like the main character, and that's fine. And that's why I didn't like it as much, just because I was questioning her actions quite a bit. After that, I read one of the probably top 10 best books I've read this year just last night. I went in thinking it was like this cute little romance. A crazy plot twist. And then you're like, you're reflecting on like, you and the main character are reflecting on all the other characters and how they interact. And you're like, what is even real? What is not? Your world's kind of flipped upside down. Nutty. I need to own this book. After that, I attended my first book club at the last chapter, Chicago's only solely romance bookstore, and read Daydream. This was the last book of the Maple Hills trilogy, I believe. I think there's only gonna be 3. I'm gonna say it, I'm sick of the Taylor Swift references. I've like veered away a lot from reading a lot of like white female authors who, especially the ones that like are obsessed with Taylor Swift. And I just feel like it's getting shoved down my throat. Also, I didn't really care about either of the characters that much. Like, it had good aspects, but the actual execution of it missed for me. I think I did a review on this, maybe. Yes, I did. After that, I went to one of my go-to authors who, if I know I need a fun little read, I will. And C.W. Farnsworth had All the Wrong Plays. She loves her sports romances, and I love reading a good sports romance. She like really enjoys strong female characters, and I enjoy strong female characters as well. And it was just another cutesy, fun romance. I don't think it was anything exceptional, but it got the job done. After that, I read Scorpion. This was like popping up a little bit, quite a bit on Book Talk. It's about the girl who's like hired to be her ex-best friend's bodyguard. And this just felt like a glorified Wattpad book. And those get published, it's fine, whatever. The plot was like, what is happening here? It's not really flowing very well. Eeh. Oh well. I read the first book of the Boys of Tommen series, Binding 13. It was okay. It was really long, and I don't think these should be labeled as young adult. Like, I think they should be labeled as new adult based off of the content. But I got through it. It was fine. I don't think I loved it as much as like a lot of the general consensus around it is. It was okay. After that, I read Against All Odds, another C.W. Farnsworth book, hockey romance this time. It was still good. Not one of my favorite books of hers, but a fun little sports romance, which is always, if you're me or you also like sports romance, you'll enjoy it. After that, I read one of her books, Serve, which had me like questioning. Based off the cover and her, I'm like, what are your views? But it's about a romance between a president's daughter and one of her bodyguards, and I just did not mesh with the bodyguard. I don't trust him. I don't trust his intentions. I don't think he knows what he wants. And I stand by that. After that, I was like, wow, I've been through a roller coaster. Let's reread a book I know I like, King of Wrath, first book of the King of Sins series by Anna Huang. And I reread this, and after the disappointment that was King of Sloth earlier in the year, I'm like, okay, Anna Huang has written good books recently. It's just been a little bit. I enjoyed this. A little arranged melodrama, rich people-esque book. So fun. Much better than King of Sloth. After that, I read one of my most anticipated reads, because this was the first book that Ann Liang released since I discovered her. Why haven't I taken this book off? I need to take this sticker off immediately. But just look how beautiful this book cover in the pages are. She rewrote this about, I think, a Chinese folk tale, and it was heartbreaking. I have trust issues with her after this. The romance, there's like there's a lot of strong politics in this, and I was like, I don't know if I can trust you, Miss Anne Liang. But it was beautifully written, so who am I to judge? I will still forgive her. I still do have arcs of her upcoming books, so we'll be okay. After that, I read Nothing Like the Movies. I did another review on this, full review. I did not like it. I don't know if this is a controversial opinion. The characters didn't feel like themselves. I know obviously they have changed, they've gone through a lot, but they felt like complete 180s. I don't think they would last in the long term, and I stand by that. But we're not gonna go much into that because I might get attacked for that one. After that, I read Real Regrets by C.W. Farnsworth. As you'll notice, I read a lot of her books. This is the second book of her, like one of her almost like Gossip Girly-esque books with the brother. The book was Fake Empire, the first one. And I did not like either of the characters, and that's fine. But I read it because her third book, False God, which I read next, was much better, giving like Miss America royalty with like this British Duke, and that, like they run into together at the Hamptons and all their other rich people events, and it's just like, it's fun to like look in on that life. Like, what would it be like to be rich? I don't know. After that, I DNF'd Keeping 13. Don't come after me. I can't stand the male main character. I'm also frustrated with the female main character. Also, a lot of the other characters I don't like. These books are so long, they should not be labeled as young adult based off of the content, and that's fine. I also don't like rugby, so at least when men play it. I don't mind women playing rugby. After that, I read Bipartisan, my first gay romance of the year. Guys, give me the queer romance recommendations, please. This was a stressful read based off of the political climate. It's about a politician who gets outed and then is in a fake relationship to pretend that they were always in a relationship, even though they're exploring their sexuality, and it's incredibly invasive to expose someone's privacy like that. And I read this like kind of before this recent election, and I was stressed. I think I would have liked this better if maybe we had leaders that didn't hate queer people, you know? Might just be me. After that, I read Done and Dusted. I gave A Cowboy Romance a chance. It was good. I still had my reservations with sometimes the amount of violence. I'm like, okay, what are you, Neanderthals? Relax. Can't you just talk it out like a civilized human being? But I like horses a lot. I mean, I like romance books, so it was fun. After that, I read The Striker. I reviewed this. Anna Huang, you were on thin ice with King of Sloth, and with The Striker, her first attempt at a sports romance, fell flat for me. As someone who adores sports romances, one, because there's typically a decent amount of sports in it. Two, they're well written. I don't want to say they're well written. I enjoyed the competition drama of that. It was just predictable, and maybe I've read too many like romance books, but it wasn't anything special. After that, I read Spectacular by Stephanie Garber, her little short story following her like Caraval's story. If anything shouldn't have been advertised as young adult, it shouldn't have been this. It had very problematic themes with like dubious consent. And this is like, I do not mess with this book at all. It was supposed to be a fun little holiday special. Also, I don't care about Tella and Legend. I want more Scarlett and Jillian, please. After that, I read Heartbreak for Two, a little romance between a pop singer and her last fling who used to play guitar with her and stuff. A lot of kind of unnecessary drama with this. And I don't know if I would have handled it this way. There was a lot of things the main characters were doing that I was like, I don't know if we're thinking this through. But it was a fun dramatic read. After that, I read 12 volumes of A Sign of Affection for book club. It's a manga about a girl who is deaf and uses sign language, and her romance between a boy who learns sign language for her. Very cute. I need to watch the anime because for whatever reason I was like unfairly skeptical of the love interest, so maybe I just need to give him a better shot. And I was just misreading his cues in the manga, but it was fun. After that, I read Hexed. Emily McIntyre is the queen of fairy tale dark retellings. This was like Little Mermaid inspired, but also like kind of like mafia. I don't know. I didn't care for the male main character. I felt like there was too much maybe insta love. I just really loved Wretched. That's my favorite one of hers. I like when the girl's more in power. After that, I read The Way I Used to Be because I thought everyone's talking about how it's making them cry. I should have read the synopsis before I started it. It's a girl who gets violated when she's young in her story, kind of getting through that. Super dark, very emotional. Make sure you're in okay headspace if you're gonna read this. I then read the sequel, The Way I Am Now. I felt like this was a little bit more of a love story to give my favorite couple from the first book a chance, and I'm glad for the sequel. It's not as good as the first one, I think, but I'm glad they got their happy ending, I like to think. After that, The Syndicator. This was the final book of the Darkverse series I read previously. I did a review on it. I'm just gonna say too many point of views, 80% reflection of the previous books, and like 20% actual plot. It favored one of my least favorite characters, so I was like, what the F? And it just wrapped up a little bit too easily for me. After that, I read The Silent Patient, a little drama, suspenseful thriller. I pride myself in guessing plot twists, and I kind of figured it out, not to like do my own horror, but I figured it out probably like 30% in. But it was still dramatic and fun, and I liked the concept of this. Definitely got in your head, the psychological component, but I don't know. I wasn't as tricked. After that, I read Everything I Know About Love. This memoir has been on my TBR forever. It took me 2 months to read the first 2/3. The last third, I don't know. The last third was great. First 2/3 I had to struggle through. In my 20s, I'm not super into like drinking, drugs, and casual sex, so not for me. It's a good reflection. I think it's a good read still. After that, I read one of the most heinous books I've read this month, All by My Elf, part of that little like holiday novella collection. Only 2 words I have are refurbished Wienermobile. And we're gonna move on. After that, Cruel Winter with You, Allie Hazelwood's little novella contribution to this. I think Allie Hazelwood could probably write mostly anything and I would love it. It's just like a cutesy little romance. The male main character might have had like some little creepy vibes, but it was in good faith. After that, I read Kindred, my first Octavia Butler book. This was life-changing, stressful, tense. I was like, I feel emotionally drained from this, but so captivating and good. After that, I reread All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I read this like 3-4 years ago. And as I was like looking through my past reads, I'm like, how did I excuse this one thing? And if you've read this book, you know what it is. And I like reread it and I'm like, no, I don't actually excuse this. For whatever reason, 3-4 years ago, I was fine with this and now I'm not. So I demoted it from 4 to 1 stars. And yeah, I was like, what was I thinking? After that, another book club book was The Night Circus. This was a whimsical, fun little read. One of those books that like, you don't really know what's going on, but then once the puzzle pieces start coming together, it's like really good. And you're like, wow. This is actually crazy. Not everyone's cup of tea, but still great. I read my first audiobook. I've been trying to listen to this for so long, Two Can Play by Allie Hazelwood. I did not like this. And I think it's because, one, I don't like how the female narrator was like lowering her voice to be the man. And I was just like, it feels like you're just mocking him. I also like think a little bit more when I hear it about how many like F-bombs she drops, and some of the like words are a little bit cringy. And also this is a novella, I realized, so I'm like, the pacing of it was a little bit quick. I wanted there to be a little bit more dramatics, and also I did not agree with the male main characters' methods of what they were doing. So it was probably my like least rated or lowest rated Allie Hazelwood book. After that, I read On Palestine, trying to educate myself more and more on what is happening to Palestinians in the Middle East, which is not good. I want to educate myself more on this. This was a good read. It was a little bit struggle to get through, but I like the dialogue portion of it a lot. After that, I read Lights Out, or I listened to Lights Out. I've been told not to read this, but to listen to the audiobook, and I'm really glad I listened to the audiobook because it's dual narrators, which I thought was much better than one. And it was like really funny. They're both really funny. Dialogue was a little bit cringy for me, but the narrators really sold it, so it was okay, but it was fun. I don't think I would have liked it as much if I had read it. Hi, so once again, after recording that main segment, I then proceeded to read 5 more books. So let's quickly go through it. Before we get into it though, look at this new gift I got. My Secret Santa got me a bookshelf, and one of my friends got me this sign. I literally have the best people in my life, but let's get into it. Okay, let me sit. Okay, the first of 5 books I read was I'm gonna need to pull this up, I forgot. Oh, All Boys Aren't Blue. This is a memoir written by a Black queer individual. I literally alternated between sobbing and rejoicing. I think everyone should read this just to give you a glimpse inside of the life of a Black queer individual. Make sure you read the trigger warnings. Next, I read The Emotionally Exhausted Woman, Why You're Feeling Depleted and How to Get What You Need. To be honest, I read this for a genre challenge on Storygraph, and this just was not for me. It's probably because I'm just such I'm so rebellious against the patriarchy, and I've been unlearning a lot of my people-pleasing habits since college, that this did not really mean anything to me. But I can see how potentially, if you are kind of like stuck in the like people pleaser, always have to make sure everyone else is okay before yourself mindset, this could be helpful for you. Next, I read Race Music, Black Cultures from Bebop to Hip Hop. This had so many interesting components that, like Chicago, I love like jazz music. I really enjoy hip hop. I turned out I really like bebop, but history is one of my worst subjects, and the way this was written just felt like I was back in school again, and I didn't really like school, and I did not well in history. I'm more of a math and science girly, so I wish I liked it more than I did. After that, I read Mary Ever After by Tessa Bailey. My friend told me I would not like this. She was indeed correct. I'm just not into the whole like my woman and like he's so ginormous and like the Neanderthal mindset, I'll say. I'm just not into that. Also, some of the dialogue was like, oh my gosh, what am I reading? And then I finished the year with His at Night, a little historical romance recommended to me by my sister. Super cute. There's like an arranged marriage, and the guy's a spy, and the girl is super devious and cunning, which we like her. Reason I didn't love it entirely just because I feel like the dialogue is a little bit, just because it's a historical fiction book. I'm not a huge fan of the dialogue, but the romance was kind of cute, a little bit, kind of messy. I don't know, but it was fun. And that's all the books. All right, now let's get back to whatever I was saying before. And that's everything I read this year. I tried to cruise, you guys. It's tough to get through 148 books quickly. Let me know what your favorites are. I'm so excited for next year and to see what new books that year brings. This has been fun. Happy New Year, happy holidays, happy reading. And be sure to stick along, subscribe, check out the Instagram and TikTok so you can see more of what I'm reading behind the scenes. I'm training for a marathon right now, so you can follow along with that. And it is a fun time to be reading, and we'll continue to discover new books together. So Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Otherwise, toodles. You have never said that. Bye.